Thank you for all of the people who fought against not just Bratton the man, but Bratton the legacy, Bratton's ideas, Bratton's history, who Bratton polices for, who he represents in this city, the class interest that he represents, for everyone who's fought back, whether online, whether in the streets, whether in the courtrooms, whether organizing in the communities where his policies crush and try to defeat people on a daily basis. I want to thank you, because ending Bratton's legacy doesn't end when this bag of bones walks out of Police Plaza. It ends when we brush all of his ideas out of this city, and it's a long time coming, because they should have been never happened 20 years ago. And all the ideas he's putting in from 20 years from now, we're going to be seeing, like predictive policing, like the continuing raiding of public housing residents with guns in their faces at 5 o'clock in the morning, the constant attacks on homeless people, the constant attacks on immigrant street vendors, the constant attack on subway performers. All of those facets of this fascist, of this authoritarian, have impacted all of us or people that we know. So we're gonna go through a couple of speakers, we're gonna have some family members speak, and then we're gonna get to some other speakers from other groups as well. Just start off with Mr. Hayward, if you can. Just talk to us a little bit about what it's meant for the last couple of years and what happened.
Okay, my name is Nicholas Hayward Sr. I'm the father of Nicholas Jr., who was murdered by NYPD back in September 27th of 1994. Police Commissioner William Bratton was the commissioner at that time. He has done absolutely nothing in that case. I'm also a member of Parents Against Police Brutality, who is Iris Baez, Margarita Rosario, and so many other parents who also lost their loved ones to Bratton under his first watch as police commissioner. I remember sitting in the town hall meeting, well, I wasn't there, but the family Iris Baez, Milton Calderon, families whose loved ones were murdered by the police, addressed William Bratton. And this racist man called the parents who were suffering and trying to get their story to this man, he called them all a bunch of fools. That's the police commissioner that we have today. How you managed to blow this man up to be such a great police officer is beyond me. Police Commissioner Bratton is a racist, international terrorist.
Right.
And people need to understand that. His broken windows policies has caused many innocent, unarmed human beings to be dead. That's his policy. He has no love and no concern for poor minority communities. William Bratton should not be just leaving, he should be going to prison. That's where William Bratton should be going. Thank you.
We're gonna have the aunt of Akai Gurley, who was brutally killed by a police officer in a Brooklyn housing staircase, speak.
I just want to say short and sweet, goodbye, Bratton. From Boston to California to New York City, blood of everyone that was killed under your regime is going to always be on your hands. You have murdered or set up protocols where our loved ones was murdered, but guess what? What you do in this lifetime is going to come back to you. And for everyone that comes in after you, things are going to change, because we are going to succeed one way or the other. Power to the people.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. Taylor Murphy Sr.
What does that mean?
Good afternoon. My name is Taylor Murphy. I'd like to speak a little bit about the raids that happened under Bratton's watch. These raids were conducted of an investigation of 11, 10, 12, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds in impoverished communities, in the impoverished community of Harlem. These raids have taken young men at the ages when they were being investigated. They have taken young men that at a young age and have turned them into inmates and sent them away to prison for a long time. My thing is that William Bratton has enforced this policy that I think is very unfair to these young people. I feel that if these young people, instead of being surveilled, instead of being harassed, instead of being arrested, were given some type of services, we're giving some type of platforms, we're giving some type of initiatives to keep them off the street, this raid would have never happened. And with that, I say good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to show, we're going to keep speaking through this, but look, first thing that they do is they start to tell the press to back off. And that's exactly what the NYPD under Bratton has been able to master. They try to manhandle and direct the press into what they want. They want a fucking ceremony out here in a fucking public space when you have family members and people who've been killed and affected by all types of police bullshit out here talking, and they want to move us out to make way for a fucking breakfast and a lunch for a fucking rich guy who lives on Long Island, who don't even fucking live in the city.
You want to tear up our First Amendment?
Get the fuck out of here.
Freedom of speech.
Because disrespect to our fucking families.
Right on, brother.
Freedom of the press, freedom of speech.
And props to the press that stood their ground right there and did not listen.
All right. Next, we're gonna have comments. We're gonna have comments from Joshua Lopez. Then we're gonna have comments from Picture the Homeless and Police Reform Organizing Project.
Thank you, Josma. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joshua Lopez. My uncle was murdered by an NYPD officer in 2011. And I'm just here to say I'm glad Bratton is leaving, but this is not a celebration because James O'Neill is following the same terrorist behavior that Bratton was.
That's right.
And you know what? We got to get rid of not only Bratton, but we got to get rid of James O'Neill and this rotten system.
Okay.
You know, James Connolly was an undercover officer who murdered my uncle, and he never identified himself as a police officer. And I've been fighting for my uncle and for everybody else that their lives been stolen for the past 5 years.
Right on.
And you know what? We had enough of police terrorizing our communities of color. And we say no more to this. And the legacy of Bratton is terrible, and it must end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Basta, enough.
Good afternoon, family. My name is Nikita Price. I'm a civil rights organizer with Picture the Homeless, and I'm here in support of telling Bratton, we're glad you're gone. Why the hell did you stay so long?
That's right. Ellen, why'd you come back?
Picture the Homeless has been dealing with Commissioner Bratton since he came here under the Giuliani administration, using stop and frisk policies, targeting homeless people and violating homeless people's civil rights. Unfortunately, he has allowed some of the press to buy into this. Homeless people are on the street, they're doing this, they're doing that. And there is really not enough evidence to prove that homeless people are violating any more laws than any other New Yorkers in the city. But he has targeted us. He has continued to use stop and frisk tactics, even though we know that this is wrong. He has continued to use broken window procedures in dealing with black and brown people in communities of color. We are the first folks that you see on the streets when you want to talk about the unfortunate, the disruption in the city. And the NYPD targets us on a daily basis. As of last year, we filed a notice of claims with the Comptroller's office when the NYPD, the Department of Sanitation, was videotaped throwing homeless people's property away when they were only sleeping and not violating anybody's rights. Then we were told that these homeless people were trespassing because the police told them to go sleep at a public school away from the public on 125th Street. As gentrification comes into our communities, the NYPD cracks down on the less fortunate. We are always the first ones targeted. The homeless people are always the first ones to be told to move on. We have just recently filed a complaint with the New York City Human Rights Commission, as we know that the NYPD is violating the Community Safety Act, which protects homelessness as a protected status. Now, we spoke with Commissioner Bratton last year when he came up to Harlem to see his work as he cleaned up Harlem, and asked him, Are you afraid of being charged with violating the Community Safety Act? He said no. And so there is a continuation of police harassment of NYPD telling homeless people, hey, get up, you gotta leave, you can't be there, when they're not violating any laws that this city has to offer. It was just mentioned that we need services. Services need to be put in place. But first, the mayor, de Blasio, who is the boss of Bratton and O'Neill, has to tell them, stop violating people's human and civil rights. Thank you very much.
It's very disrespectful. That's all you know how to do is take people in. Like
This is literally what they do. This is a fucking symbolism of what the Bratton era has always been about. Putting cages around people. Yo, please, as much as possible, let's keep the focus on the speakers, some who traveled a long way to be here. Bob, we're gonna have Bob Ganji from Police Reform Organizing Project. Please try to keep your focus on the speakers as much as possible. Don't pay them enough time.
I'm pleased to be here today to join all of you making our effort to protest Commissioner Bratton's so-called legacy. His legacy is primarily promoting quota-driven, broken windows policing that every day harasses and targets low-income people of color who engage in activities that have been virtually decriminalized in white communities. One of the most offensive things about Bratton is how, and this isn't just for people like us, but how he does to the entire public and to the press, how he insults our intelligence. Commissioner Bratton has said, we do not target communities of color, we target conduct.
Liar.
Now, that wasn't a defense for a policy that does so much harm to New Yorkers, particularly low-income New Yorkers of color. It's almost laughable. Either Bratton doesn't know what his police force does, or he is lying, deliberately distorting the truth. The Police Reform Organizing Project, on a regular basis, monitors the arraignment courts in New York City. This morning, we were in Manhattan, just up the block, 100 Center Street, Manhattan Criminal Court, where we monitored misdemeanor arraignments. We saw 22 cases being brought before the judge. Guess how many of those 22 cases involved African American or Latino people? Take a guess. 22. 100% of the people who were brought before the judge today were New Yorkers of color, African American and Latino people, and they were charged with very serious predatory offenses. They were charged with driving with a suspended license. There were 2 people who were charged with possessing marijuana, which, as you know, has been entirely decriminalized amongst white people. They were charged with theft of services, which is the legal term for fare evasion. And fare evasion is the most numerous arrest that the cops make in New York City. Last year, the police arrested over 29,000 people for fare evasion. 92% New Yorkers of color. 92%. And fare evasion is a crime of poverty. It's not even, it shouldn't even be a crime. People don't jump the turnstile for the thrill. They jump the turnstile because the fare is actually a financial burden for them. And instead of the de Blasio administration, instead of the city figuring out a way to help poor people use the subway, you can't not live in New York City, get a job in New York City, go to school in New York City unless you can use the subway. And instead of helping poor people use the subway without encountering the police, what de Blasio and Bratton have done, in effect, is turn the police loose on poor people who are using public transportation. In addition to the 29,000 and so much arrests, last year the cops gave out almost 124,000 summonses. 124,000 summonses for fare evasion. That's a total of over 150,000 punitive interactions that the cops have with poor New Yorkers for evading subway fare, or trying to evade the subway fare. That's an average of almost 420 a day. We supposedly, at least we're told, we have a serious crime problem in New York City in certain communities. Why are we devoting, it's actually the primary focus and allocation of police resources in New York City is on fare evasion and on people of color. So Bratton represents a policy and a practice, no matter how they try to spin it, that targets low-income people of color. It's deeply fucked up, it's blatantly racist, and we as a group, as a movement, have to bring pressure, if not on de Blasio, then whoever holds that office next year, for them to abandon broken windows policing, to abolish the quota system, and incidentally, on day one of the new administration, whoever the mayor is should be held to the pledge that he will fire Dan Pantaleo and all the other cops who jumped Eric Garner and ignored his pleas. 11 times he said, "I can't breathe." They ignored him, they held him onto the ground, they squeezed his head onto the sidewalk, and then they left his lifeless body laying there. Richard Hasty, the cop who burst into Ramarley Graham's house and shot him to death, day one, the new administration should fire him. And every other police officer engages in excessive use of force that leads to serious harm to local people of color. Thank you very much.
I met Joe Smart in December of 2013. We had a small contingent on the steps of City Hall when we heard the mayor had named Bratton. All of us did our research and came on the steps of City Hall and said no. None of the press came. We knew why. Our city council members, other than Charles and Inez Barron, everybody else rolled their eyes and went in that City Hall that day. We got them on film. None of them would stand with us when we said, "What the hell?" January 1st, freezing cold. We stood, a few of us, Juanita Young, Brother Haywood, a few of us stood across the street from City Hall, holding a banner of stolen lives, saying no to Bratton, while the mayor and all the rest of you were in there yucking it up with the Clintons. January 1st.
Own it.
We fought a battle, and we went everywhere Bratton was to say, we know who you are and we're not going away. Bratton hates black young men.
Right.
That's right. Bratton hates young black men. Racist. He came through the subway system. He was ahead of the transit back in the 94, whatever, 93, whatever. He was going crazy, locking up young black men then. And he came back, and what's the first thing he did in the subway? His quality of life. And locking up little children that were dancing on the subway. Little children. We watched drip by drip. 2014, 2015, 2016. We don't have to talk about the legacy of Bratton. It's out there for anyone to see. And our sellouts were part of it. Every time we protested, they called us a fringe group, right? They called us, we were there with another agenda. And yes, I would say to Vanessa Gibson, when we said no to 1,001 new cops, what did we say? Yes, our agenda is to stay alive. Our agenda is not to have 1 in 3 young black men in jail or prison.
They're more of the same.
Now they're targeting young black girls. They're targeting them. Bratton, we said early on, must go. But we said earlier than that, he shouldn't have come in. He shouldn't have come in. Jumaane Williams promised us on the steps of City Hall, December 2013, that he would have a hearing as to how Bratton was chosen. After that, he hid. After that, he wouldn't talk to some of us. We said no to 1,001 new cops. Remember who voted for it. And finally, today, de Blasio was on air. He was on WNYC. And he said broken windows will continue. So we fought a battle, but we didn't win the war. But I'm here to say, we fought you all this long. We fought you since you came in with Giuliani. We're going to fight you until the end.
Yes, right.
We're going to win this war. We're going to win. Thank you. Woo.
And part of Bratton's legacy in New York has also been the militarization of the NYPD. And really, because the New York Police Department stands on a platform that's the biggest in the entire country, What he does here in New York sets a precedent for other police departments across the country. So fighting along the lines of the militarization of all police departments across the city, we're going to have someone from War Resisters League come and speak about this continuing trend and how we must stop it as well.
I'm sorry, one second. When Occupy Wall Street was here, we marched over here to one police plaza one freezing cold night, and we poured libations for Sean Bell. I know you saw in the news, Sean Bell's killer was just made sergeant. That makes this, I'm telling you, this entire system is rotten up and down the ranks. That's why reforming won't help. It won't help. No. It's rotten through and through. So again today, I said I was going to do this. In the name of Sean Bell. Ashe. In the name of our ancestors who are buried right under our feet, because this was part of the African burial ground. Ashe. In the name of Amadou Diallo. Ashe. Whose police killer just got a raise. Yep. In the name of Eric Garner. Ashe. In the name of Akai Gurley. Ashe. In the name of Nicholas Haywood Jr. Ashe. In the name of all of our ancestors through the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 2000s.
Yes. I'm here to talk about police militarization in the era of NYPD Commissioner Bratton, who, despite stepping down today, is leaving a legacy in the form of an NYPD army that will continue to terrorize communities, especially communities of color here in the city. So since he began in 2014, Bratton increased the number of cops in the NYPD and ramped up military equipment and escalation tactics. This summer, Bratton bought $7.5 million worth of military-style gear, okay? From ballistic vests, helmets, vehicles, tactical escape hoods, rifles, tear gas, which we've seen used against nonviolent protesters time and time again, and tasers. Last year, Bratton called for 1,000 new cops, raised the number of SWAT cops under the Critical Response Command to 527, and put 700 officers into the anti-protest police unit called the Strategic Response Group. Yeah. Through the Urban Areas Security Initiative this year, Bratton, along with Hillary Clinton, ensured the NYPD receives $180 million from the Department of Homeland Security. Our tax dollars are going into police militarization. Despite Obama's proposal to decrease the national budget going to police militarization and OASI all over the country from $660 million to $300 million, wasn't passed. Bratton's police militarization is much more than just the military assault rifles that the NYPD is increasingly walking around with. It's also policing tactics like broken windows or the raiding of project buildings that mimic counterinsurgency that the US military uses across the world. It is how the police treat neighborhoods of color as occupied zones where communities are treated as enemies and criminals to be surveilled, raided, jailed, and shot. This is the NYPD's war on New York City, and in particular, the NYPD's war on poor communities of color.
I've been a public defender for 11 years here in New York City, and unfortunately, I have to report that the majority of the crime that I defend is a big bag of bullshit. And NYPD is here making arrests for a big bag of bullshit. Under Bloomberg and Kelly, the main arrests that they made was for marijuana. Now it's for jumping the turnstile. I have clients who get criminal records, convictions that will stay with them for the rest of their life for $2.75. $2.75, and somebody gets a criminal record, okay? Not only do they get criminal records, but I have had clients who have served jail time for jumping the turnstile. $2.75, and my clients have gotten 30 days in jail. 30 days in jail. A 16-year-old black man gets 30 days in jail, all right? And the prosecutors, Cy Vance, Ken Thompson, who asked for no jail time for Peter Liang, asked that my clients serve 1 year in jail for jumping the turnstile, okay? this isn't ending with Bratton. All right, this is 20 years of his legacy when he came here under Giuliani. His legacy will continue with O'Neill. All right, O'Neill is talking about community policing.
Bullshit.
His community policing,
Or raids.
this is what he said,
Gang
is that
raids.
100% of NYCHA buildings will have NYPD in them.
Whoa.
Okay? So happy to see Bratton go, but we have to make sure that his policies go. His policies are decimating communities of color. Shame on the NYPD, shame on the prosecutors who prosecute people for broken windows crimes, for bullshit, asking them to do a year in jail, asking for bail. Shame on the judges who set bail on people for jumping the turnstile, for stealing 6 bars of soap, for sleeping on a bench. Shame on those judges.
Shame.
All right? Fuck the Bratton and fuck the police!
Let's talk about the tale of two cities. You fuck up on your city job, they putting your ass out. You fuck up when you work for NYPD, they put you on desk duty with extra money. So let's talk about the tale of two cities. Let's talk about the tale of two cities when they build apartments and call them affordable, but then people in East New York only make $31,000 a year, and the lowest band is $47,000 a year. Let's talk about tale of two cities. Let's talk about tale of two cities when a young guy, 24 years old, could get caught with a bag of weed and spend 3 days in jail, and Peter Liang gets 800 hours of community service in the place of his choice. Let's talk about it. He didn't do community service cleaning the streets on Blake Avenue. He didn't get community service cleaning up the streets on 3rd Avenue. He got to choose his own community where he feels comfortable and safe. The NYPD protects its own. We must protect our own. This is a black liberation struggle. Let's be clear. This is happening to black and browns. Anybody that is not black or brown, you can exit stage left if you choose and go back to your privileged life. This is an all-going struggle for black and brown people. Black and brown people must be in leadership of this struggle. So as we tell Bratton goodbye, see you later, don't let the doorknob hit you where the good Lord split you, we still got work to do. Because James O'Neill, the person who's under his command, was flaking suspects, flaking people in our own communities, but still got promoted. We still got a trick for him. So this struggle continues. We want to end broken windows. We want to end broken windows policing. We want to stop predatory policing in our communities where black and browns frequent. We want to say swipe it forward. That's the red, black, and green, and it don't stop. I'm going back.
Big up, big up.
And Shannon also mentioned the Swipe It Forward campaign. For those who are not familiar with it, if you follow it on social media, it's hashtag Swipe It Forward. It's really a campaign to bring a solution to one of the number one broken windows arrest in the city, which is fare beating, which is an issue that has more to do with poverty than anything around public safety or crime. But the fact that they've been able to criminalize being poor, criminalize being homeless, criminalize not being able to get 275 to get downtown, that is the legacy of Bill Bratton. And we want to find solutions to this as well. So what we've done with Swipe It Forward is go and swipe people our own damn selves, because that's the way that we keep people moving in this city and out of the hands of not only the cops, but also of the courts that continue to put people through like it's in a meat grinder. So we want to keep people out of the criminal justice system. 100 Center Street, right up there. Every single day you go there, there's nothing but black and brown faces every single day, lined up outside every single day, every single year. And make no bones about it, this has happened before Bratton, this will happen after Bratton, so we gotta stay focused on that. And also to just really also bring it up from the lowest type of interactions to also these fucking gangways that keep happening. Taylon really spoke on this, and Taylon is someone who brings solutions that the city has dragged his feet on being able to implement. He wants to go into the communities. He and his partners have been going into the communities to try to bring solutions to young people in public housing projects, because he knows, as well as many of us know, that the problems in public housing are better dealt with the people who live there, who know what's really going on. But instead, what this mayor and this police commissioner have done is just do military-style raids, just sweep people up, throw 50 years on them. Hopefully they'll plead down to 20 and just put them in Rikers, and in the latest incarnation in the Bronx, putting them in federal prison in Brooklyn. And we got to make sure that this is part that's talked about as well. The broken window side of it as well, that affects us every single day, going in and out of 100 Center Street, but also the one that's trying to put our young people away for 20, 30, 40, 50 years at a clip. Because these young men are what the NYPD and what the real estate developers in this city don't want to see in this city, which is free people of color walking around, dancing, being people, laughing, doing all the things that we need to do. And that's what they want to criminalize.
I'm gonna freestyle because I wasn't ready to speak. I want to give all honor to the ancestors. We're here today because they survived, we're surviving, and we're going to thrive. I want to give honor to the native people of this land that we're standing on, the Lenape. I want to send good energy, warrior energy and spirit to our folks fighting the Dakota Pipeline. I want to give honor to the people who were enslaved on this land and help to build this whole area of downtown Manhattan. We're here and we're grounded in their love today. I want to send love to the people resisting in New York, who I've learned so much from. It's such an honor to be here with you all and to see your fight. You're resisting. Don't continue to do this. You're inspiring people around the country, around the world. All honor to folks who have been here for a long time and who are fighting. I'm from Los Angeles. In 2009, Bill Bratton, in cooperation with the FBI, did a massive gang raid on MS. And in that process, they arrested a very dear friend of mine. His name is Alex Sanchez. He does gang intervention and prevention work in Los Angeles. Much of what's happening here now with the gang raids happened in LA at that time under Bratton. He was jailed for a long time, but the community fought for him to be released. And after 4 years, charges were dismissed because of community resistance and because of community support. And I think one of the biggest lessons that we can take away from Bratton and what he's done to merge technology with policing is to know that it's also now on us to protect ourselves as much as possible. And I think that's, one of the best things we can do. Be encrypted, know who you're talking to, know your technology, know how you're protecting yourselves and organizing, because they're coming for us every day and we have to be ready. I don't know what more, I thought this day would be more joyful, but the truth is that the fight really starts now. And we have to reach as many people as possible. We have to shift the conversation in so many ways. The jobs that young people are seeking can't be limited to policing type jobs and jobs that turn them into self-hating, into policing their own communities. We have to fight for good jobs for people in New York as we fight this state policing arm. And I just want to say, much love, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other, and thank you so much.
When Bratton came into town in Skid Row, he did, 36,000 citation issuances within a 2-year period in the 20 block radius of homeless black males, black women, and other folks of color in Skid Row, Los Angeles, the poorest one of the poorest areas of our nation. And the continued fight in Skid Row since that time in 2006 has been about working to resist and abolish the police and its continued occupation in Skid Row. And I love the people down there that work so hard and they fight so hard, and I just wanted to lift up what they do And I also want to say that the connections that we've made around, since Bratton has come into office in New York, has been all about how do we strategize together and put forth models and techniques that have been successful for us all. Both what has been going on in LA, but also what has been going on in other areas. And things like Swipe It Forward, or last year or so when we had the campaign around No More New Cops, are divestment campaigns that say this money can go to youth programs and jobs. This money can go to services that we need. And this money is something that is ours.
If you see what's happening with people kneeling instead of standing, and people putting their fists up for the anthem and things like that, know that it's getting out. When you turn on certain programming now, you hear the intellectuals saying, broken windows does not work. They're saying it out loud. But these archaic ones don't want to give up the power. It's like a dragon, okay? It's like a dragon that does not want to die, and in its last few days, it will thrash its tail all over the place. That's all they're doing. Their day is done.
That's right.
It's over. It's done. They don't realize it yet. So that's why we have to continue what we're doing, educate our young. Our young aren't having it no more.
Nope. No, they're not.
The young are not, and they're not going to play nice like my grandmother did, put on her gloves and she would go protest. They're not doing that no more.
We ain't marching in Washington, D.C.
And we're not filling out any more petitions. Election time is over. Go to these offices of Jumaane Williams, Vanessa Gibson, all those folks, and tell them the jig is up. The jig is up. They don't want to say it out loud, so we just have to say it for them every day.
I'm proud.
Thank you.
The police is not our hero. Our hero is Ramsey Orta.
Word.
He's the one.
Word.
Give it to him. Give it to him. Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
He's the one who put his life on the line for his friend. That was his friend, Eric Gardner. Okay? And he's the only one who's facing jail time. All these pigs. Not one second spent in jail. And they have been following him from Staten Island to Manhattan. In fact, no matter where he goes, they're after him. And his next court date is October 3rd. He deserves to have a whole lot of people there for him.
We got to keep that October 3rd, 9 a.m. in Staten Island for Ramsey Orta.
Yeah.
Tish James! Tish
Oh, Tish James!
Broken windows, you supported Bill!
Say hello.
Police!
Trump would love it. Trump would love you. Build a wall. How high? How high will your wall go? Drive the Trump, man.
We're here because we want to send a few messages. One, we're happy that Bratton is departing from being our NYPD police commissioner. We're not too happy that James O'Neill is going to take over because we know that Bratton trained him pretty good to make sure that he follows his template. But we're here to send that message and make sure that Bratton knows that he's leaving, but not leaving with the legacy that he proclaiming to leave with of the great job that he did. That he's leaving a lot of scarred family, a lot of people scarred, especially in the community of color, because of broken windows policing that he brought into policing once again when he was elected to be police commissioner. So we want people to know that there is a good amount of people that's dissatisfied with the job that Bratton did as police commissioner, and that he should not go with smiles in his face and throwing a party that he did a great job, because in reality, the dark side of what he did is right here today, and you can hear it in the voice of people that's angry and dissatisfied with his work.
These supremacist workers and supremacists, white privileged skin on this side in their uniforms, and people of color band together with people like ourselves and fight for true jobs and equality. Because you know that as long as you stand in those suits on that side, this continues. Okay? Your ancestors all raped and killed, and you wearing the uniform and continuing to rape and to kill. I bet you this group right here are part of raping those women in Rikers Island, and that's why they're laughing. You think it's funny? And the transgender community. And we know how you bribe them for sex, so stop laughing.
Yeah, this long fucking brand fucking going away ceremony. Y'all, why we even have a fucking ceremony?
All I wanted to ask him was, why did Patrick Brunson and James Grohl shot my son 14 times? Why did he shoot my son 14 times in the back, face down? And Commissioner Bratton told me to shut up and stop acting like a fool.
That's right.
This is the kind of commissioner that we have. He has no respect for the families.
No matter how many fucking cops, there could be a fucking 1,000, 2,000 fucking cops. If we have the strength of the families, we're gonna win. We're gonna defeat all of you. No matter how many guns you have. Like, check over here real quick.
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you guys for having me here. You know, Joe's mom been keeping in contact with me throughout this whole fight I've been dealing with. And you know, I want to thank all my supporters that been supporting me since day one. You know, Aunt Shirley kept in contact with Liza. That's I say your name right? Liza, sorry. Sorry, I'm just can't remember so many names right now. But you know, everybody been here since day one, and you know, I appreciate that. And you know, that's what's keeping me here, still fighting. And that's why I come here and show support whichever way I can around the country, and however way possible I can. And you know, I want to thank you guys for still holding me down. Thank you.
Yeah! The real hero, Ramsey Order. 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 The real hero, Ramsey Order.
A real hero, Ramsey Order. A real hero, Ramsey Order. A real hero,
Ramsey Order.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe.